Hey, this is Bruce Music here, and welcome to 2009. I'm on Venice Beach in Los Angeles at the moment, and today what I'd like to do is share a technique with you that I use to make sure that every year I start begins with a bang and not as a continuation of the previous year. Have you ever noticed that by the time you get to the end of the year, you look back on the year and go, gosh, there was so much I wanted to do this year that I didn't get accomplished, and there's so much at the end of the year that's incomplete. And have you ever noticed how we tend to carry this into the next year? So the stress of everything we didn't get complete in 2008, most people will carry over into 2009 and start adding to it with more and more and more to do. Now, of course, this doesn't set us up for success along the way, does it? So what I like to do is I do a process I call completing the year. And in this process, I have a look at what are some of the great things I accomplished in the year gone past, in this case in 2008. What are some of the important learnings that I've learned from 2008? And I write all these down and reflect on them for just 5 to 10 minutes. And what I find this does is that it completes the year for me. It rounds off and adds completion to all the things that weren't there. I begin to see things and notice things about the year I hadn't looked at before. And I generally give myself a good pat in the back for all the great things I've done. And I allow myself to gain some learning and some knowledge from all the things that I haven't yet got complete. Now here's what happens if you don't do this kind of exercise. You end up kind of carrying all your baggage from 2008 over into 2009. You then try and create some goals and some New Year's resolutions on top of all that baggage, and like icing on top of crap, your 2009 year doesn't look good. It looks set to just be a continuation of 2008. Now, if 2008 was really great for you, you can make it even better doing this exercise. If you battled in 2008, well, you can really make sure that you springboard yourself into 2009. So here's how the exercise goes. What I'd like you to do is first look down below, and you'll find there's a link to print out a worksheet that I created for you to do this exercise with. And on the worksheet, you'll notice there's several questions. What I'd like you to do is take some time to reflect on these questions. It shouldn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes. So the first question is, what did you accomplish in 2008? So I'd like you to take a moment and write down at least 10 big accomplishments. So perhaps you went traveling, perhaps you did something at work, perhaps you completed a project that turned out really well. But I want you to zoom out and look at some of the big things you accomplished over 2008 with the intention here of acknowledging yourself for all the good that happened. I know 2008 was a tough year for a lot of people. It certainly wasn't my best year. But having done this exercise, I got to see that it was the perfect year and an incredible year of growth. So in the next section, we're going to have a look at what did you learn in 2008. So whether you had some good experiences and some bad experiences, and I guarantee you had both, in 2008 you learned something. But what we usually do is we don't actually look at what we learned, so we never get the learning. Here's a way you can get the learning. So in the second question, I want you to answer from what's happened, and perhaps even look from some of the things that didn't turn out the way you'd like them to have. What did you learn out of 2008? And I want you to make sure that whatever you write down under what you learned is an empowering learning, not a negative learning. So I don't want you to write down something like, I learned never ever to do this again because you can't trust people. That's a negative learning. I want you to look at what were some of the empowering learnings that you found over in 2008. And then thirdly, the last question I'm going to ask you is, how is your behavior going to change as a result of what you've learned in 2008? You see, getting some insights and some little breakthroughs out of doing an exercise like this is one level of learning. It's what my mentor Eben Pagan calls level 0 learning, because you're not really learning much. Here's why. One of the fundamental principles of NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, is that learning happens when your behavior changes. Learning is not just information. Learning only happens when your behavior actually changes, when you begin doing something different. So in this exercise, what we're looking for is, how is your behavior going to change in 2009 from what you've learned? So what I'd like you to do is write that down, answer these 3 questions, take about 5 to 10 minutes to do it. And what you'll notice is that you'll probably get rather excited and realize that 2008, whatever you thought of it at the time, turned out to be a really great year, the perfect year for you, and an incredible year on which you can build on in 2009. So do that exercise now and join me back here next week. And next week we'll take a look at building some goals for 2009 that are worthy of your life. And next week we'll look at creating a vision for 2009 that'll propel you into the future and make sure 2009 is your best year yet. So from Venice Beach in Los Angeles, California, this is Bruce Music signing off. Have an absolutely incredible day. Print out the exercise down below and make sure you do that now before you move on to the next thing you're going to do. Talk to you soon.